And Hudson Belinsky from Baseball America is all over this and joins us this morning here on Big Board Sports. He follows this a lot closer than we do, and we appreciate Hudson coming on the program on this Wednesday edition. Good morning, Hudson Belinsky, Roger Weiland, Chris Honorado, 104.5 A Team in Albany.
Hey, fellas, how you doing?
How we doing today, all right?
Oh, yeah, doing great. So
I know one thing.
I got draft fever. We're less than a week away.
Yeah, you are. Let's get right to it. Let's start with Kevin Smith, the Maryland shortstop. Where do you have him projected to go Monday or Tuesday of next week?
I think he's got a chance to go on the back of the first day of the draft in that back of the second round, early third round. What Kevin has going for him is there's just shortstops are hard to find these days. There's not a lot of them out there, and that's really his biggest attribute is that he's going to stick at that position. He's a really good defender. He can throw. He's got really great hands. He moves around well in the infield. He's got natural instincts as a defender, and those kinds of players are hard to find, and there's not a lot of them in this year's class. And there's going to come a point where somebody's going to be in the second or third round and say, "Hey, we need a shortstop. Let's go get this guy."
Yeah, and he had a good NCAA tournament, right? And hit pretty well in the tournament this year.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately you're looking at his whole body of work and what he's done, dating back to high school and his 3 years in Maryland and what he did in the summers in the Cape Cod League last summer. And with him, you're kind of ultimately you're not expecting him to be too much offensively, but you look at what he does have. He does have some bat speed. He's got power. He can pull the ball out. So there's some elements there for him to work with to develop a little bit more as a hitter at the professional level. And he'll go to the minor leagues, and that's what player development's for. He's going to go work on some things and try to get the most out of his offensive ability. And when you have that kind of bat speed and body, as you can put it all together, you might have a guy who runs into 10, 15 home runs, and if he hits enough, and he plays the kind of defense to be an everyday shortstop, there you go. We've got a pretty good big leaguer.
And the first two rounds, Hudson, are Monday, right? 1 and 2?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So the first round is on MLB Network, and then the second round, and I believe the supplemental second round also will be on the MLB.com streamed.
So KJ could get his name called on Monday, maybe somewhere in that second round would be beautiful. What kind of money are we talking about here?
Well, the way the draft works, there's slots for each individual pick, and teams are allowed to spend the amount of money for all of their slots for their picks combined. So in the second round, those slots can be $1 million, $2 million if you're talking early. So you're probably looking at a guy who's for Kevin Smith, you're probably talking about somewhere maybe 750,000 to 1.5. To be put a range on it. A lot of things can happen in the draft, so not exactly sure how it's going to go for him, but he's going to have a pretty good paycheck.
I was going to say he'll take that little man from East Greenbush, Castleton, Little League. Back in the day, working his way up, and I know his dad and mom pretty well. I think they would if you would have told them back in those days, hey, your kid's going to be drafted in the amateur draft. He's going to make that kind of coin right away and have a shot to play in the majors. They would have went, what are you talking about? But he has worked his tail off, and here he is. The other young man that we have, we'll get word on, and I don't know that it'll be as high as KJ, is the young man from Binghamton and Shenandoah, Justin Yurchak. Hudson, what's your thoughts on him?
He's an interesting one because his game is really built around his bat, and he doesn't do everything perfectly. He's not an elite defender. He's not a plus runner or anything like that, but he can really hit. And you look at basically everywhere he's gone, he's hit and he's produced with the bat. And there's some scouts who are all in on that and say, well, we'll figure out what we need to figure out defensively, and we'll help him get better, but we need hitters. So we're going to go take a shot on this guy. He's going to have to probably develop a little bit more power in pro ball, but when you look at a guy who strikes out as little as he does, I believe he had 12 strikeouts all year. Your check is a guy, if you get a bit more power in there and he's going to hit enough, maybe you have something. So I wouldn't expect him to go nearly as high as Kevin Smith in the draft, but maybe goes a little bit later and a team takes a shot on him and says, hey, let's try to develop this guy and see what we got.
Hey, Hudson, Chris up here with Roger as well. Hunter Green's getting a lot of play nationally, just because of, I guess, he's a unique player, that's for sure. Cover of Sports Illustrated and all that stuff. Top of the first round, though, who do you guys project to be the number one overall pick? And if you could kind of, give us a little bit of a scouting report for our Capital Region, New York audience.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the draft's pretty interesting this year at the top. There's really, as it's kind of crystallized the last few weeks, there's probably 4 guys at the top who we expect to go some combination of 1, 2, 3, 4. The first overall pick, if I had to wager a guess today, would be Kyle Wright, who's a right-handed pitcher out of Vanderbilt University down in Tennessee. He's a big physical guy. He throws a mid-90s fastball, a really good changeup, and a really good curveball. Has just been kind of a performer for 3 years at Vanderbilt in the Southeastern Conference. He kind of checks a lot of the boxes that you're looking for. Kind of a ready-to-roll starting pitcher. Where Hunter Green is a shortstop / right-handed pitcher, two-way player out of Southern California, big-time power, played pretty good shortstop, but he's going to throw, a triple digits fastball, and he's a really good athlete on the mound. His future's probably on the mound, and if I had to guess, I'd probably put him number 2 if I wrote a mock this morning. Then we've got a left-hander out of North Carolina High School named Mackenzie Gore, who's kind of just a freak athlete. Was the Gatorade National Player of the Year this year. Throws a ton of strikes, throws a low to mid-90s fastball, a really good curveball, flashes a good changeup. Just has a lot of the ingredients you're looking for in a young starting pitcher. Really high ceiling guy. Kind of has been compared a little bit, broad strokes wise, has been compared to Madison Bumgarner a little bit. And then the last guy to mention up top would be Brendan Mckay, who's another two-way player at Louisville. Just kind of one of the better college baseball players really of all time. He was a freshman of the year a couple of years ago for us. He's just kind of been dominant on both sides of the ball. He can really hit. He's got on the mound. He's a left-handed pitcher with one of the nastiest curveballs in the country. So, got a lot of ingredients there to potentially be either a starter in the big leagues or even potentially a middle of the lineup bat. So, but those would be the guys at the top that I would think about, and I would start to get pretty excited about if I were a fan of one of those teams sticking up high.
Hudson Belinsky, Baseball America. We really appreciate coming on. Great information, especially on our 2 local Capital Region players that are looking forward to next week as well. And we'll get back in touch down the road. But Hudson, keep up the great work, man. And thanks again for coming on Big Board Sports.
Thanks for having me, fellas. Take care.